A nicotine addict will rarely tell you that smoking is a hobby. It is undoubtedly a habit, and a pretty nasty one too. So why are so many people referring to their new replacement for smoking, vaping, as a hobby? It's a question that I struggle with, and I have myself referred to vaping as a hobby, and it's a statement that I'm not entirely comfortable with. First of all, is it accurate? But more importantly, what reasons do people have for referring to vaping as a hobby as opposed to a habit? Aside from the fact that the word habit has certain immediate negative connotations. In order to analyse this, I think it's necessary to define or categorise certain types of vapists based on their current impetus for vaping. Category 1, the nicotine replacers. These are the people that use vaping as a direct alternative or replacement to smoking, and this is overwhelmingly the biggest category. It includes the recent adopters all the way up to the 6-year vape veterans. The one thing they all have in common is that they're all ex-smokers. They don't smoke tobacco at all anymore. Category 2, the nicotine supplementers. These are the people that still smoke but use vaping as a supplement to their nicotine at times and in places where they're either not allowed to or it's impossible to smoke. There are folks who vape at work, while driving, in hospitals, airports, but they still smoke tobacco as a preference when possible. Category 3, the zero nicker. This is by far the smallest category. There are very few people that vape exclusively zero nicotine e-juice. But there are a few, and it's a surprisingly diverse category. Sufferers of diabetes and dieters and gastric band patients have used vaping to slake their desire for a sweet taste, for something to taste. There are folks who vape solely for the taste sensation. A zero-nic vapist might work for a juice company or a mod manufacturer and vape more out of necessity than out of desire. There are even juices that claim to be medicinal with additives like ginseng or vitamins. Aside from the potential falsehood of these claims, they contain no nicotine. And that's the overriding disparity of this category. No one in this group is addicted to nicotine. So based on the 3 categories, the nicotine replacers, the nicotine supplementers, and the zero-nic vapors, we can summarise further. There are those who are addicted to nicotine, which covers the first 2 categories completely, and there are those who are not addicted to nicotine. But addiction is not automatically a habit, and a habit is not automatically an addiction. They exist separately. For instance, picking your nose is a habit, but unlikely to become an addiction. However, an addict can rid themselves of the habit, as shown by any ex-drug user, heroin, smoker. But those same individuals will tell you that they're not completely free of their addiction. They deal with their habitual behaviour psychologically, socially, chemically. A habit is defined by the behaviour it exhibits, and a common habit in smokers is the hand-to-mouth fixation, that desire to fondle some kind of object and raise it to your lips. So let's look at the hobby argument. There are those who consistently spend a lot of money on their mods and their e-juices, all the premium stuff and accessories. They display them in proud fashion and like to engage in discussion with other vapors about the same sort of thing. These individuals might claim that their collection is their hobby. And they might be right about that. But in not so distant times, people collected things like cigarette cards with little pictures of footballers on them and gratis points, which were very much like a brand loyalty scheme, which could be exchanged for goods and services, solely through the act of satisfying an addiction to nicotine through the smoking of tobacco products. The collection that you have was always understood as a side effect of the habit. More similarly though, pipe smokers for generations have enjoyed a good quality pipe and may even display them and collect them in a similar fashion to mod collectors. But a pipe smoker is still exhibiting habitual behaviour through the act of smoking a pipe. There's also an element of ceremony in vape culture, which is comparable to smoking in many ways. You can roll a cigarette or make some e-juice, fill a lighter or change a battery, filling a pipe or making a coil. But ceremony should not be confused with hobby. This isn't Japanese tea making. When considering vaping as a hobby, one must consider how often and in what circumstances one is vaping. I personally have seen myself vaping a lot more than I used to smoke. The people around me are more aware of it taking place. Needless to say, they would need some convincing that blowing clouds on a train platform is my hobby. I'm vaping in places that I never would have smoked, and not out of some conscious desire to satisfy a nicotine addiction. It just kind of became automatic, and that kind of routine behaviour is the very definition of a habit. It all comes down to one question that you have to ask yourself really. Is your behaviour habitual? But furthermore, a hobby is defined as an activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure, but something that you can do all the time while doing anything else probably shouldn't be considered so.